Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at how to read JSON in SQL. So firstly, what is JSON? No, not that JSON, this JSON over here. So JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation. So it's a text-based format that can easily be sent over the internet from client applications to servers and vice versa. So people started using it because it's easy for humans and machines to create and understand. It's also language independent, so you can use it in any type of programming language, whether it's C++, C#, JavaScript, Java, Python, anything you can use JSON. In addition to all of these reasons, JSON's structure allows data to be nested in a way that's more intuitive and more structured as opposed to these other data formats out there in the world. And it's more flexible than other tabular models such as CSV and Excel. Also, because it's so readable, if you have a JSON string, it's easy for anyone to just go and read and start debugging and see where the actual issue is. Okay, so JSON is pretty cool. Another thing that is pretty cool is hitting that like button. So do the right thing and be cool. So here's an example of a JSON object. As you can see, the object contains various types of values, including strings, a boolean, a number, another object, which is this address section here, an array called phone numbers, an empty array called children, and a null or spouse. In a JSON structure, a key value pair is a fundamental data entity. Each key is associated with a value. In the context of JSON, the key is a string, and the value can be a string, number, boolean, null, array, another JSON object, as you can see over here. And this format allows data to be organized and accessed efficiently. Nested JSON objects are also possible, where a value is in itself a JSON object. For example, in the JSON object shown earlier, the address key has a value that is a JSON object containing its own set of key value pairs. So this is pretty straightforward. So let's jump into SQL to see how we can actually read this JSON string itself. So reading from JSON is actually very easy in SQL. You have a couple of options. So the first ones that I'm going to show you would be JSON value. If I just wanted to read the first name and the last name, I could do something like this over there. It's basically saying select JSON value at string. At string is this over there, and I'm looking for first name, which is that there, and you can see it returning a null. So why is it returning null? See, there's first name and there's first name there. So if you have very good eyes, you can see that the N is in fact capitalized over there and it's lowercase over here. So that's something to keep in mind when working with JSON, is that this is going to be case sensitive. So if I'm looking for first name, I need to capitalize that N, and that's now going to match the first name in that string over there. So let me run this again, and there we can see we are getting John. And the same thing for last name. So now we can see we have our last name as well. So JSON value is very good at getting scalar values, which basically just a single value. Now what if you want to return more values and not just a single value? We can use something that's a little more robust, and that is OpenJSON. We can now see it says select everything from OpenJSON at string. I forgot my at, and let me run that now, and you can see that it actually returned everything from that JSON string now. So you can see it's very easy to select all of these values using OpenJSON. Okay, and if I wanted to put this into a different format, in other words, if I wanted to have first name, last name is alive in columns going across there, I would just simply change this OpenJSON string, and I'd specify this width over here. And width is basically going to allow me to start specifying my column names. Okay, so I'm going to put in first name, and it's going to be varchar 100. Doesn't have to be, but obviously I'm just putting it like that now. I'm going to put last name, also varchar 100. I've got is alive. I'm going to make that one a bit. Let me run this and see what actually happens. Okay, so we can see that we now have our columns, which is quite cool. So it actually has pivoted that result set, and we have our first name, last name, and is alive. So we can see is alive was set to true, and in SQL terms, true is a 1, which is why you're seeing a 1 in the result over there. So you see it converted to a bit. 1 would be true and 0 would be false. Okay, and of course, as I mentioned earlier on, case sensitivity is important. So if I run this now, you can see first name is null because I don't have my capital N. So you need to remember that over here. This matches directly to those names over there. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So what you're probably also wondering is, how do we then query these phone numbers here? Okay, we can see these phone numbers are in an array. We only have first name and last name. We have is alive. So how are we going to put those multiples next to that one over there? Okay, so what I'm going to do firstly is I'm going to give this a name, which is going to be A. So it's very imaginative. So you can see that's just giving that a table name. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to add address in here. Okay, so if I just add address like that, let's make it a varchar max, and I'll just run it like that. You probably think it's going to return that address section over there, but if I run it, you see it actually shows a null. So there's a couple of things you have to change this over here. I'm going to make that as JSON and then execute that, and you can see it can only be specified for column of n varchar max with a where clause. So there's something that's very specific in the section over here. You can't change it to a varchar over here. You have to make this an n varchar. So casting it or making it as a JSON won't work specifically. You need to go make that into an n varchar, and if I run the same thing now, we can see that we have that full street address in this column over here now. Okay, so now we've gotten to this section where we have our address. We now want to split that address up, right? So we want to actually get the different sections of it. So how would we go about applying those address details on the side over there? So we want to have street and city and state, for example. So what we can do is we use a cross apply. So I'm going to cross apply. I'm going to once again, open JSON. I'm going to go to a dot, and what did I call that? I called it address. Okay. And so I'm going to open up this address over there, which is in my column A, my table A, sorry. And once again, I'm going to put a width, and that width is going to apply to this particular address over there. So I'm going to put street address, and it's going to be a varchar 100, and then I'm going to put in city, which again I'll also make varchar 100, and then I will put in state, which again I will make varchar 100. And I think that should be enough. I might also put in postal code since we are here. Might have gone all the way. Why stop now, right? So let's put in varchar 100 over there. And if I run this now, let's see what happens. You can see we have first name, last name is live. We have address. We now have street address. We have city, state, and we have postal code. And we don't actually need this particular address portion over there anymore, right? So what I can do over there, on the select, I'll say a dot first name, because we want the first name. I'll say a dot last name. I'll say a dot is alive, and then I'll say for this one, which I haven't actually given a name to yet, I'll just call it B, and I'll say b dot star, which will just be everything. Okay, so if I run that now, you can see it's a lot cleaner. So we have first name, last name is alive, street address, city, state, and our postal code. And that's all from this JSON string that we have over here. So you can see it's not a lot of code. I mean, it looks like a lot because if it's the first time you're looking at this, it might seem like a lot, but it's actually not. But actually it's quite simple to get down from that all the way down to that nested level over there. And then the same thing with arrays, you can go down to that as well. Cool, so you can see reading JSON in T-SQL is actually very, very easy. As long as you're using OpenJSON, you can pretty much go to any level that you want to, and it's very easy, and this code is pretty much the same for pretty much all JSON strings. There might be a couple of things you need to change here and there, but for the most part, it's gonna work just the way you want to do. And that brings us to the end of this video. As always, if you liked it, click on the like button and subscribe, and click on the bell notification so that you're notified of newer videos coming along the way. And of course, if you know of anyone that can find any value in this, please do share this with them. And that's it from me. I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.